right? Celtic fans, let's talk about the kind of afternoon that perfectly sums up what this season has become for the club. The win over Motherwell at Celtic Park wasn't just another 3 points in the table. It was one of those matches that felt tense from the opening whistle, the kind where you know nothing is going to come easy and every moment could swing the mood of the entire stadium. And to be fair to Motherwell, they came to Glasgow with real intent. They didn't sit back. They didn't just try to survive. They played football, they attacked when the chances appeared, and at times they moved the ball around with real confidence. For the supporters watching, it actually made for a proper contest rather than one-way traffic, and in the end that made the victory feel even more satisfying. There's this idea some people still seem to have that Celtic should just turn up, dominate every opponent, and cruise to comfortable wins week after week. But the reality of this season has been very different. Every match feels like a test, every opponent seems to raise their level, and every slip carries massive consequences. That was obvious again when Motherwell took the lead. You could feel the nerves spreading around Celtic Park. It's almost become a pattern lately where the team finds itself staring at the possibility that the title challenge could unravel in a single afternoon. We've seen it in several matches already this campaign. Lose a game at the wrong time, and suddenly the whole narrative shifts to whether the league is slipping away. That pressure has been constant. Think back to some of those moments across the season where Celtic looked like they were right on the brink. There were away matches where dropping points felt like it would end the title push entirely. There were games where the team fell behind and the atmosphere turned tense in the stands. Yet again and again the players have found a way to respond. Even in matches where the performance hasn't been flawless, they've shown resilience and determination to claw their way back into games. That fight has kept Celtic right in the middle of the title race when, at several stages, it looked like the door might be closing. And a huge part of that seems to come down to belief inside the dressing room. Watching the reactions after the Motherwell game, you get the sense that the players genuinely think they're going to win this league. Not just that they hope to, but that they truly expect it. That kind of confidence can be powerful, especially in a tight championship race. When a squad carries that level of conviction, it often shows in the moments that matter most. When the pressure builds, instead of panic, you see players stepping forward and taking responsibility. One of the biggest examples of that on the day was Young, who delivered a performance that grabbed everyone's attention. He was electric on the wing, switching between the right and the left, and constantly causing problems for the Motherwell defense. The 2 goals he scored weren't just important, they were taken with real quality. Both finishes showed composure and sharp movement, the sort of clinical edge that Celtic needed at exactly the right moment. Beyond the goals, he was involved in several attacking moves, including the run that helped create the corner which eventually led to the penalty. His energy and directness gave Celtic a spark whenever the attack looked like it might stall. It was one of those displays that reminds supporters why the club invested in him in the first place. That said, it would probably be unfair to pretend every performance from Young this season has been at that level. There have been moments when he's looked raw or inconsistent, and there are still questions about whether he'll be the long-term answer as the starting right winger going forward. But what can't be ignored is his knack for delivering in big moments. When the pressure rises, he seems capable of producing something decisive. Looking back over his contributions this season, the timing of some of his goals has been crucial. The spectacular strike he scored in the derby earlier in the campaign still stands out, a goal that showed exactly what he can do when everything clicks. There were other important moments too, including key contributions in difficult away matches and now this brace against Motherwell. When you tally them up, his goal return is more impressive than many might have expected, placing him among the club's most productive attackers this season. It also highlights something interesting about Celtic's campaign overall. Not every player has been brilliant week after week, but at different points throughout the season various individuals have stepped up with vital contributions. One week it's a midfielder scoring a crucial goal, another week it's a winger producing a moment of quality, and sometimes it's a defender or a goalkeeper making the difference in a tight match. That collective effort has kept Celtic competitive even during stretches when injuries and inconsistent form threatened to derail things. For Young personally, there's also been a noticeable evolution since he first arrived at the club. Early in his time in Glasgow, adapting to a new league and a new environment wasn't straightforward. One of the biggest challenges he spoke about was the language barrier. Communicating on the pitch, understanding instructions, and building relationships with teammates can all become more complicated when you're adjusting to a different language. It might seem like a small detail from the outside, but inside a football squad, those things can affect confidence and performance in subtle ways. Now, several seasons into his time at Celtic, he appears far more comfortable. The improvement in communication with teammates and staff has helped him settle into the group, and that sense of belonging often translates directly into better performances on the pitch. When a player feels part of the team and fully understands the system around him, the game tends to slow down a little. Decisions become clearer, movements more natural, and the confidence to take risks increases. You could see glimpses of that comfort during the Motherwell match. Young looked relaxed in possession, willing to drive at defenders and combine with teammates in tight spaces. Those are signs of a player growing into his role within the squad, rather than someone still trying to figure out his place. And while there's still room for improvement, the progress over the last stretch of matches suggests that Celtic might finally be seeing the most settled version of him yet. That growing sense of confidence around Young was also reflected in what he said after the match. Speaking afterwards, he explained that this stage of his Celtic career feels very different from the early days. The first couple of seasons, by his own admission, were difficult. Minutes were not always guaranteed, and adapting to everything around him took time. But now, heading into what is effectively the latter part of his third full campaign at the club, he says things feel far more natural. Communication with teammates has improved, the language barrier has eased, and he feels much more connected to the group inside the dressing room. It might sound like a small detail, but being able to speak comfortably with teammates during matches changes a lot. Football is played at such a fast pace that quick instructions and warnings from teammates can make the difference between keeping possession and losing the ball in a dangerous area. When a player understands those shouts instantly, the reaction becomes automatic. For someone still learning the language, there is always that tiny delay where the brain has to process what was said. Over the course of 90 minutes, those fractions of a second matter. Now that Young feels more fluent and settled, it's clear he's able to react quicker and play with a bit more freedom. There was even a light moment when he joked about how some Scottish accents can still be tricky to understand, which brought a few laughs. But in a strange way, that comment actually says a lot about how comfortable he has become within the squad. Those are the kind of remarks players make when they feel part of the group rather than outsiders trying to adapt. And when a footballer reaches that point, performances often start to reflect that comfort. While Yang's performance grabbed the headlines, the reaction from the manager afterwards also revealed just how satisfied the coaching staff were with the overall effort from the team. The victory was important not just because of the points, but because of the context surrounding it. Celtic had been dealing with injuries, fatigue from a demanding run of fixtures, and the emotional pressure of knowing that every league match could influence the title race. Coming from behind against a strong Motherwell side under those circumstances said a lot about the character inside the squad. Motherwell themselves deserve credit for the challenge they posed. They arrived in Glasgow and played with courage, pushing forward when opportunities appeared and refusing to sit deep for the entire game. Their movement in midfield caused Celtic problems at times, and they forced the home side to stay alert throughout the afternoon. Matches like that are never comfortable, but they often reveal the resilience of teams competing for championships. When things become complicated, the response becomes the real test. Celtic's response was exactly what supporters wanted to see. Instead of panicking after falling behind, the players gradually increased the intensity. The tempo of the passing improved, the attacking runs became sharper, and the belief inside the stadium slowly returned. When the equalizer arrived, you could sense the momentum shift. Suddenly, the energy inside Celtic Park felt different, as if everyone in the ground believed the comeback was on its way. Moments like that have become a theme this season. Rather than cruising through matches with complete control, Celtic have often had to fight their way through adversity. Sometimes that adversity has come from the opposition playing well. Other times it has come from injuries or periods where the team's rhythm has been disrupted. But repeatedly, they have managed to produce the response needed to stay within touching distance at the top of the table. That context makes the upcoming fixture before the international break feel particularly significant. With one more league match approaching, the players were given a couple of days away from training to recover after the intensity of recent weeks. It's a small but important decision from the coaching staff. When a squad has been pushing hard for several months, both physically and mentally, a brief pause can help recharge the batteries before the next challenge arrives. Several players use the time to travel briefly or reconnect with family and friends, which is common during these short breaks. The aim is simple: allow the squad to reset for a moment, then bring everyone back together with full focus on the next match. That upcoming game will not be straightforward either. Away fixtures in this league rarely are, especially when the home side senses an opportunity to disrupt the title race. Another major topic surrounding the squad right now is the injury situation. There have been a few concerns in recent days, with some key players dealing with knocks or minor muscle issues. The hope from the coaching staff is that a couple of those players could return in time for the next match, but the medical team will be cautious. With the international break immediately afterwards, there is always a balance between pushing someone back into action and protecting them for the crucial stretch of the season that follows. One of the most talked about cases involves the captain, who has been recovering from a calf problem. Early indications suggest it is not as serious as initially feared, which is encouraging news for Celtic supporters. Even so, rushing a player back too quickly carries obvious risks. The last thing the club wants is to lose such an influential figure for a longer period because of a setback that could have been avoided. There are also a couple of other players working their way back through training after muscle injuries. In those situations, the focus is often on building fitness gradually rather than forcing an immediate return to competitive action. With a demanding run of fixtures still to come later in the campaign, having those players fully fit could make a huge difference when the title race reaches its decisive stage. Meanwhile, another story that has attracted attention involves the experienced goalkeeper, whose recent absence has now been explained in greater detail. For quite some time it was clear something wasn't quite right physically, and recent comments confirmed that he has been dealing with a shoulder problem that has lingered for a long period. Injuries like that can be particularly difficult for goalkeepers because almost every movement involves the upper body, whether it's diving, punching crosses, or even distributing the ball. After months of trying to manage the issue with treatment and injections, the situation eventually reached a point where continuing to play became unrealistic. Specialists advised a break of several weeks to allow the shoulder to recover properly. For a veteran player who has built a career on toughness and determination, stepping away is never an easy decision. But sometimes protecting the body for the long term becomes more important than pushing through the pain in the short term. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers are beginning to swirl around the east end of Glasgow, and the rumor mill has found a new name to chew on. Word drifting through the corridors of Parkhead suggests that Nicholas Raskin may be on the verge of an astonishing move to Celtic FC. Nothing official has been confirmed, of course, but the chatter is growing louder with each passing hour. Sources close to the situation claim the Belgian midfielder has already been spotted in discussions connected to the hoops. Whether those conversations were exploratory or something more advanced remains unclear, yet the mere possibility has already set supporters talking. Raskin, known for his relentless energy and sharp passing from deep positions, has built a reputation as one of the most dynamic midfielders of his generation. For Celtic FC, the idea of bringing in a player with Raskin's intensity fits perfectly with the club's long-standing identity. The Parkhead faithful have always embraced football played at a high tempo, with midfielders willing to press, recover possession, and drive the game forward. By that measure, Raskin would seem a natural fit for the green and white. Those close to the dressing room insist there is real admiration for the Belgian style. His composure under pressure and ability to dictate the rhythm of a match have drawn praise across European football circles. If the speculation proves accurate, Celtic could be securing a player capable of adding both steel and creativity in the center of the park. Still, this remains firmly in the realm of rumor. Transfers often begin with whispers before anything concrete emerges, and Glasgow has seen plenty of stories rise and fall before ink ever touched paper. Yet there is a certain electricity in the air whenever a name like Raskin becomes linked with Parkhead. Supporters have already begun to imagine what such a signing might look like under the floodlights. The roar of the crowd greeting a new midfield general stepping onto the pitch in green and white. Whether the story develops into a genuine deal or fades into another chapter of football folklore remains to be seen. For now, one thing is certain. The possibility of Nicholas Raskin arriving at Celtic has captured the imagination of the city. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.